So most of, that's right. So most of you know that when you get an email now, say it comes from Apple and there's a link inside the email, if you hover your mouse over it, it says something apple.com/whatever. With Proofpoint, it's going to look a little bit different. Okay, you can see on the screen up here, the little square, it says URL defense, and then it's got a lot of other characters in it. Okay, the only thing you really need to know now is that that is a way that Proofpoint is helping to protect you, because it redirects that link to them. And if they at first glance think, oh, that one is okay, then they'll let you proceed to that link. It's not 100%, so you still have to be careful, but that's the intent. Okay. Also, the other thing that that redirect does is that it keeps track for us of who clicked the link, because sometimes attackers will send the link through and at first it looks fine, but then they weaponize that link later. Okay, so if Proofpoint scans that link later and says, oh, now it's bad, then we can go back and we can see who clicked on it, and we can take actions to remediate whatever's happened. Now, you will see, probably the students may see an email from us when you've clicked that link thinking it was good and it turns out to be bad. We'll reach out to you and say, okay, now did that link, when you clicked on it, did it ask you for your UT Patriots email and password? And did you enter both? And if you did, we're going to ask you to immediately reset your password. In some cases, depending on the situation, we may even force your password reset first and then tell you later. Okay. So that's the rewrites. So that's number one thing you're going to see different. So go ahead to the next screen. The next screen you're going to see every day typically is an end user digest. And this is a way you can manage your own spam. What Proofpoint does is, if it knows for 95% certain that this is a spam email, it's going to go ahead and quarantine it. Okay. The next morning, you will get an email, a digest similar to this. It'll come up as an email, and all of the emails that it quarantined from the day before will be listed. And you'll get the opportunity to release that email, to go ahead and allow that sender from that point on, if you're somebody you trust. Or if you say, yeah, that's not anything I want, then you can choose that option that says block sender. Okay. So that's the second thing that you're going to see different, is your end user digest. Go ahead to number 3. Now, this is another thing Proofpoint offers that you'll see, and it's banners that come at the top of the email that help you to better understand what you're looking at. You're going to see a bright yellow banner if that email came from an external sender. Okay. Now, sometimes an attacker will spoof an address. So it may look like it came from your professor, or it may look like it came from one of your fellow students. But if you see the yellow banner, you'll know that it really did not come from inside our tenant. It came from somewhere else. So you need, just think of yellow like when you're driving, you see the yellow light, proceed with caution. That's what the yellow banner means. Proceed with caution. Doesn't necessarily mean it's bad. It just means to watch out, be careful. Then you also will see some green banners. Those are gradually being added, but what those are is, if there is an, for example, campus news, the campus news newsletter looks like it came from internally, but it's really coming through a third-party service. And so it would normally have that yellow banner because it came from an external source. But we're putting the green banner to let you know, no, even though it's really external, this is from a trusted resource. So you should be fine to click on those links. Okay. So those are the 3 things you're going to see different. Go ahead and click the next. And then in the near future, we're going to be adding some other things, such as a new report fish button. Now it's a little clunky sometimes in Microsoft to report a fish. There's a couple of different drop downs you have to go through. And also it looks different on webmail versus desktop mail versus mobile mail, and this will make it all sync where it all looks the same. Okay. Go ahead. And that's pretty much it. Those are the key things you need to know. Does anybody have any questions? No? Good. Okay. Okay. So Kevin has something he wants to ask you real quick.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Mona Claiborne, everybody. She's one of our better analysts here at UT Tyler. Thank you for that. Phishing remains UT Tyler's #1 threat on campus. And I tell Dr. Philly that. I'll tell any chancellor from system administration. I'll certainly tell you all that. Phishing is the #1 threat on campus. Difference between threats and risk, but I got a completely different take on what I need to do for you. When Mona and I were getting ready for this meeting, by the way, thank you. My good friend, the CIO, the Chief Information Officer, Mr. Isai Ramirez, asked me to relay a question and get some results. He asked me to ask a poll. So I said, what do I ask him? And so he told me, so I'm just going to come right out and say it. I need a show of hands if anyone has had any sort of difficulty in logging into Canvas using multi-factor authentication, MFA, Duo. I'm looking for a show of hands to see what the density of issues were. I'm not here to look at what the problems were. Okay, so I see that's all right. Sale after close. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we got it 5. I will tell my good friend and CIO Isai what that number was. 5 out of 21. Oh, 6 online. Okay. By the way, how many people are online? Roughly 9. So it'll be 6 out of 30. Okay. I'm sorry. Okay. I might have an answer. Your name, please.
Oh, Senator Lopez.
Senator Lopez. Okay.
Is
For this, we got. Oh, yeah. There's a protocol. Okay. Oh, sure.
hello. Hello.
There you go.
You're good. Senator Lopez.
Just speaking.
Okay. You're good. Senator Lopez, what is MBA or what you're asking about?
Oh, multi-factor authentication. All right, we can do this. All right, multi-factor authentication. Typically seen from the user standpoint, it's Duo or the Microsoft Authenticator. Okay, multi-factor authentication. I'll just do it. I'm not going to build a watch. I'm going to build a sundial, Mona. Okay. When you present yourself as an identity to an application, whether it's your own phone or perhaps an application on the internet, you have a couple of things. You have your username, and then you have something you know. What is that one thing that you know? I will pause until I hear an answer. Password. That's right. Something you know. So that's a factor. Okay. Multi-factor suggests that there's more than one element that represent your identity in terms of this application. So there's something you are. There's something you possibly even have. Okay. So we have our phones, we have Duo on them. Check. Everyone got Duo on their phones or Microsoft Authenticator? Well, okay. So the thing is, you have you know your password, you enter that in, great. They'll ask you for another factor, hence the name multi-factor. Okay. And so then there is a green button on your cell phone. It's Duo, and you hit green. So that suggests that you are holding the very phone that was registered your name. That's another factor. Okay. Sometimes you type in a password and there may be some contraption that wants to look at your eyeball. Okay. That's something you are. Or maybe your thumbprint. Okay. So it's something in addition to your password. So we just call it MFA or two-factor or something other beyond the common password. That's really all it is. And so in order to protect your identity, sometimes passwords get compromised. So how do we know that the person has something they know, which is that password? Apparently someone else might know it. So let's check with another distinct factor, which in this case is Duo, or perhaps some other device that you have. So it's multi-factor. Again, all to protect your accounts. More than likely your banks, those that you do financial transactions with, have some type of multi-factor authentication. Maybe they'll text you a 6-digit code on your phone. You got into that is another factor. Okay. So that's multi-factor. So there's more than one ways to accomplish this. Does that answer your question? I built a sundial, not a watch, but just a little sundial.
Senator Lopez, so is the question when you log in and they ask you whether to call your number, is that considered part of it? Okay, then yeah, I have issues with that.
So it's 7. Okay, very good. Okay.
I didn't know.
No, you're fine. You're fine. Yeah, I sometimes we use terms of art in information security, and part of our job is to communicate them, but we have to kind of lay a little bit of foundation. So, okay. So MFA, multi-factor. Okay. That was a great question. So hopefully I gave you an answer that was equal to the question. Other questions? Sir. Oh, here we go. Yeah.
Senator Bevel, with the phishing risk you're saying is, the highest priority. The Apple one that went through recently, is this new system you're putting into place going to make that practically a thing of the past with the digest, including all that they block like that, or how will it work?
Okay. I should say, I hope so, but hope is an option, not a method, right? So our attackers are always evolving. And Mona can tell you that throughout the day, we can see what we claim to believe the same attacker literally trying different combinations. So when you say there's a particular attack and, it's an Apple attack, look, you may have caught one version of it or heard about it, but more than likely they tweak their messages, because if they get bounces on this, they will try to find a way. They may know that a university uses a product like Proofpoint or maybe Microsoft's standard Defender thing. They may know that, and they have a little, spiral notebook of how to defeat those things. So these attackers are aggressive and they want your information. So is this a guarantee? I'd be not doing anyone a service if I said it was a guarantee. But what we're doing is we're leveraging our technology as much as possible. We're getting, we invest money in this thing as a university to protect the UT Tyler community. And so we just need to get as much value out of this protection scheme as possible. So it's starfish in the sea. If we can save one person from clicking on a link, going, to doing whatever bad could happen, then that's victory. But, it's just not going to end. So Mona has some embellishment there. Okay. All right.
The other thing that brought up when you're talking about the different kind of phishing emails that we are seeing a whole lot of the financial scam type emails going to students. Okay. So those don't particularly have a link in them. The way you can tell for sure that those are scams, number one, if it sounds too good to be true. Your parents probably told you that and you forget sometimes, but if it sounds too good to be true, it usually is. Okay. Also, if they want you to take some type of action that's urgent, like you've only got 24 hours to take advantage of this, then that's a telltale sign. Then a lot of what we're seeing in these emails lately is that there is another email they want you to reply to embedded in the body of the email. So they don't want you to reply to who sent it to you. They have like John Skoll or something in the body of the email, and they say that they want you to send an email to that person using your personal email. Well, why do you think they want you to use your personal email? Because they know that we're using Microsoft, we're using Proofpoint, and that we've got a better chance to catch them if you're operating within our tenant. Okay, so those are three telltale signs. And just to tell you what those scams do, it's normally not going to hurt UT as far as giving us malware or stealing your credentials, but it's going to hurt you in the pocketbook. Because what typically happens on those is that in order to get this grant or this job that's part-time, that sounds wonderful, they will send you a check and tell you, okay, but we want you to donate as soon as you get it. We want you to donate money to this thing. That's part of the agreement. They want you to send $200, $400, $500 to this thing. Well, by the time you've done that, you get this great, wonderful check. You send the money to the person they wanted you to send it to. Then the bank contacts you and says, hey, that check, it was a hot check. It's no good. And then you're out all that money. So anyway, that's one that's very common, that if you could pass that on to the people in your group to please don't fall for those. And all they need to do is just send it to us with their phishing button and we can tell them, because if it was sent to one or two people, yeah, it might be legitimate, but usually those are sent to 10,000 students at once. And that we know is a scam.
And that's an introduction to Mona's Day. Today, that was Tuesday. Tomorrow is another one. So anyway, these are great questions, by the way. Hopefully they're good answers. Other questions? Yes. Here, I think this.
Treasurer Mercado, what do we tell students that are frustrated, especially the cases that I see the most when students are frustrated or when they get a new phone, new technology, and they're trying to access their accounts and they're unable to because they don't have the app on that specific account?
I always say go to Help Now, go to the University Help Desk, and that not only addresses the issue, but may cause a trend line of other, basically, if other folks having the same problem, then they'll make sure they put knowledge-based articles, things like that. So I always say go to the Help Desk. You know, you can call them, you can visit them at the USC, and that's what their purpose is. So always say go to helpnow.uttyler.edu or call the Help Desk, and they'll get you straight. Yeah, every day do that. Great question. Other questions? Okay. Well, thank you for your time. We appreciate it. Very good.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you guys for that great information. Okay, and for the recording, it started a bit late. We called to order, did roll call, and approved the minutes. There was no one for open forum. So we will move on to Abigail Paulin, undergraduate assistant for the Office of Digital Learning, and Scott Dillingham, director for the Office of Digital Learning, and Catherine Billisener, learning analytics and LMS specialist. Sorry if I butchered names.
Well, good evening, everybody. So Catherine is joining us online. I'm Scott. This is Abby. So we're with the Office of Digital Learning. That Canvas conversation was a great segue. So we are stewards of the Canvas environment. Zoom, academic integrity software. You guys wouldn't know about that because it never comes up for y'all, I'm sure. So we're really faculty facing. We're not really student facing. When you have Canvas issues, you're probably working through the 24/7 support, which is from the company. But when we do a lot of work with faculty, we've done a lot over, I guess, the past year, especially on artificial intelligence. So we're here to get we want to learn from y'all. We just need a little bit of information as we're kind of moving on to our next initiative with artificial intelligence. Is that an okay introduction? Are we good? We're ready to, okay. So there's a QR code here that's got 9, we'll call them quantitative questions. Would you do us the favor So now if you're online, I think you're going to have to scan this also. I don't know that link is to our just our website. So it doesn't go to so this is a Microsoft form. So right now, Abby's the one that has access to this information, to the results. I don't think I can see it. I don't think Catherine can see it. So your secrets are safe with us. Is that a good? It's, oh yeah, okay. Well, yeah, oh yeah, thank you. Yeah, so it's anonymous, so that's even better. So what we're trying to do is get a sense of, last year we spent a lot of time trying to get a sense of what our what faculties in general, their familiarity with artificial intelligence is, and that resulted in, we ran some, we called them AI Playground, but since then, I think that name's been adopted by some tools that are out there online for artificial intelligence. Anyway, working with the faculty just so they could see different artificial intelligence tools. And now we want to see what supports do we need to put in place for faculty and students. So now it's, how is this integrating into the curriculum? So these questions are all pretty much around, I've actually got the quantitative ones here. Hopefully this just takes a minute to fill out. And then I have some qualitative questions we would love to ask and just get, again, the general, actually specificity is awesome, but learn what we can from students such as yourselves. I'm just gonna kind of wait while y'all fill out again, these are broad strokes, so don't think too hard about the, sometimes, always, never business here. Okay, so as you finish up, so those were 9 questions that were on the QR code. We have 11. We don't have to get through all of them. So when you're tired of this, just let us know and we'll get out of your hair. So where do you learn about AI? Like, how do you learn about a new tool? How do you hear about it? Okay, like, do you search? So these are ads that come across, or your friends? Okay.
So for Zoom, Senator Okafor stated that she sees it online and through her For You page.
Yes.
I heard about it from friends, and then social media as well is how I was introduced, and it was becoming a more bigger thing.
Senator Lopez was introduced by her friends.
All right. Do you feel AI tools help or hinder your ability to think critically and independently? Yeah, should I be passing this microphone? Would that be much easier?
I think it's your own perspective. If you are using it to do a whole paper, for example, that's obviously hindering your knowledge. But if you're using it for an outline, so you have a guiding point, that's extending your knowledge.
You're good. Okay, so do you, oh, there we go. Treasure, your own perspective.
Senator Lopez, I am of the personal belief that it hinders. I don't use it. I prefer not to use it. And so but I also see like what it does, because I have friends who use it because she has dyslexia, so it helps her with like taking notes or being able to like do outlines. But the reason why I believe it's more of a hinder than it helps at times is because we were given access to it far too quickly before it was fully fine-tuned, because now what information it's gathering isn't as accurate. It's essentially like funneling its own information and becoming more and more and more clouded at this point. And I think it probably would have been much more of an aid if they had waited a bit more time before exposing mass public to it. That way there would have been like a basis point so we understand what it could do, and it would hopefully evolve better, but because of how it's done, it's now, I guess, a biology major, the best way to say it, it's like we're constantly inbreeding the same genes. And if we don't like introduce new genes into the population, then it's gonna eventually become something faulty that will be no use of us in the future.
All right. Tell us about a time your friend used AI, which you found concerning.
I know personally, I've had friends that have written entire class essays using solely AI. No names.
Senator Atiocha, I've had friends that use it to make therapeutic judgment for patients, and that's the worst because AI, like she said, sometimes is wrong. So they just use like science rather than using the factors that the patient has and the patient separate.
Robert, did you have something? Chief of Staff Richardson?
I did. Can you hear me? I've definitely seen a few people, and this is not necessarily just in school, but just use an AI to completely make an entire like essay or an entire judgment call, kind of like the senator said just before, where it's like they don't put much input other than just the prompt into it. And I think that's kind of a problem because you're not really putting forth any effort in whatever it is you're doing at that time. So I've seen that a few times, students and coworkers.
Okay. Again, tell us about a time you think the use of AI resulted in an unwarranted consequence or these might be pitfalls that students need to be warned about.
Senator White, I've seen on social media a lot people who are using AI to help them write some papers, like different parts of it, or like to go through and check it. It's actually telling them that their writing is not their own, and it's making them have to write like worse than they would actually have written themselves.
I have also, one of my friends has had that experience where her professor thought it was AI and it really was just her writing.
Senator Atiocha, I think another one would be just to inform students or like people in general. We've all seen like on social media, AI can create pictures that don't actually exist or images of things that aren't real, and they can make people say things they didn't say. So just making students be aware of what's like to decipher what's false and what's true, even just like society.
Senator Okafor, I had a friend who was emailing a professor, and the professor thought that she was using AI to respond to the email. So he got super upset with her, and she kind of got reprimanded for it, even though it wasn't an assignment.
Senator Burns, I think one of the biggest problems is that like the software we use, Unicheck, is that if you write anything that is semi-intelligent, it says it's AI. I mean, like the other day, it said that I plagiarized the word University of Texas at Tyler and the word the. And I think it's a big issue because it's made me very aware of having to attempt to like dumb down my writing so that it doesn't sound like AI. I mean, any high level vocabulary used, anything like that is flagged as AI nowadays.
Treasurer Mercado, I think it's also really important to take into account that at the beginning of every semester, every professor is supposed to go over their AI policy. Not all do. So being able to read those syllabus is clear because I know in my program, personally, we're encouraged to use AI because it's in our everyday life for education, but for others, not so much.
I would, Senator Orachacha, I would say that personally in my experience, whenever I'm writing essays and I use intensive vocabulary, like stuff that is not even like intricate or stuff like that, gets flagged for AI. I wrote a whole report which it was a step-by-step report for biolab, and I got told that I use AI, and it's like I can't use AI because I'm using my results from my report just because I put it in like large vocabulary, I go flagged. So that kind of sucks. I feel it make it seem like any intelligent vocabulary use or right use of, you know, um punctuation marks results in AI.
Senator Torture, I had a question for you. I've noticed that like some professors do the same material each semester. And like, for example, with pharmacy, the questions or the material being taught is the same thing each semester, just a new cohort. When they ask like a prompt for an essay, what tends to happen is when we write something, it's similar to an essay written in like 2018 or 2017. So does UT Tyler kind of reset the AI plagiarism each year, or is it just lagging us from all the way from UT Tyler began?
That's a great question. So I want to differentiate between, so we use the Turnitin product now. We did use Unicheck. Unicheck was purchased by Turnitin. And so it's a little bit of a migration. So that tool, I think, looks like 90% the same. But in that migration, we have pulled over the historical paper database. I mean, since we used Safe Assign, I've been here 100 years. And so 100 years ago, well, like our first, so we have the paper database from when your parents were here. So but that plagiarism, which is exact match detection, yeah, we've got those forever. So we don't reset that, and that's on purpose. Now the way that software works, you can do some fine tuning with it, which is kind of a hassle. So but hopefully when that comes back, like you can set templates if there's almost a worksheet that you're filling out, so it doesn't like pop each question if that's supposed to be there. So what we try to help faculty with is, if in those instances, if they're getting a bunch of, like you mentioned, or somebody like the University of Texas at Tyler, right? Like that's in every ways to try to fine tune that, but it's just software, right? It's not really thinking. We'll get to AI in a minute. But that historical paper database I keep referring to, like we'll bring those over again on purpose. But yeah, so if it's an assignment that people have been contributing to for quite a while, there is kind of a higher likelihood. The way that those, it gives these percentage scores, and they all have kind of like I guess a gauge, right? Like it'll go kind of green, yellow, red. And so if it's like 15, 20% or less, it's kind of like hey, this is probably commonly used language. There's a way and now it's smart enough to know about citations, but that all depends on, the citation format. Then there's yellow that's like between, 15, 20% and like 50%, and then a red when it goes over that. So each faculty member, the assignments will be different for that. So if you do have like a result, and I think you can see those results on the plagiarism. Sorry, I was trying to differentiate. But you can't see the AI results. So a tool that is new this semester for us, Turnitin, does have an AI detection tool. So a couple of years ago, I found out about AI from the Nateland podcast. I don't know if you guys are familiar with this little comedy podcast, and Aaron Weber was talking about it. And I'm like, what is this? And I logged into ChatGPT, and I've been there ever since. But the AI detection tools, when they first came out, OpenAI, who makes ChatGPT, had a detection tool that didn't work. And so they've taken it down. It's not there anymore. So we really advocated to not have a detection tool for a couple of years because they weren't very reliable. Now, the one that's there now is more reliable. It is not perfect. It is more reliable. And so we test this stuff. Like it wasn't that long ago that when you asked, this is to your point about AI only knows the writing that it sees. So I didn't learn this until graduate school. We all use too many commas. I didn't know that. I thought we were supposed to write with commas all the time. And so most writing has too many commas in it. And so if you ask ChatGPT to write something for you, it, to this day, puts too many commas in it. And the way that the detectors used to, that was a marker, because I would just go back and take out the commas. We test this stuff all the time. We practice cheating all the time. It's super fun. I'll be happy to talk to you about a career path later. But you take the commas out, and then the same detector was like, oh man, this is, you must have wrote this yourself. It's 100%. So we would kind of push against these things to see the evolution, but there's only so many iterations we can try. So when you, I mean, this whole AI detection thing is really, was this being recorded? What can I say about this? Okay. So since it's being recorded, I'm not going to say that it's not definitive, right? Definitive is the plagiarism, because that pops against another paper. And if it's UT Tyler paper, your professor can see that, and they can see that your cousin Bob wrote it 6 years ago and you're using the exact same paper, or they can see that it's just only these, right? But AI doesn't match against anything because it's generative, right? It doesn't exist in the other form. So we're, you know, we have that turned on in Turnitin because it's better, but it's totally not best. So to answer your question, way too long. That was way too long of an answer. There's no reset we did on the AI side. We're, you know, Turnitin doesn't tell us how that magic works, and they don't let you see it. I don't think there's a way that we can let you see the AI response. There's Draft Coach. If you don't know what I'm talking about, real quick, if you go into Office 365, one of the many buttons up on your ribbon is Draft Coach. That's a Turnitin func feature. So if a teacher has assigned you in a class a assignment that uses Turnitin, you'll have the Draft Coach button. And when you punch that, you can write it and turn it in to Turnitin. Is that a verb and a noun? And so you can get a result, and you get up to like 3 or 5 times per paper. And the goal there is for you to see, what is Turnitin going to do, right? So if, you know, like if you're like, oh, well, I didn't do my citations right, and it's popping my citations, and you can fix those. Or if you're like, it's not even grabbing the right stuff, you can, you know, let your professor know. I'm not trying to put the burden on you, just FYI. But it will not show you the AI, because the idea is, you know, if you're using AI. So if there's instances where you write something and it, you know, sounds like AI, or maybe AI is getting better at writing now, and so these, you know, yeah, the professors need to know that. Hopefully those are conversations that everybody is open to. And then we hear that from professors. I mean, let me tell you, when stuff doesn't work, we hear about it, and we want to, right? Like, that's the whole point, because it's kind of a new area. It's why we're talking to you guys. I really, really appreciate your time. So I hope that kind of answered your question, but on purpose, we have, like, I mean, literally, I don't know, since 2007. What is that? 100 years. I just round. I'm gonna go on to another question. Is that okay? Okay. And then just let me know when we're done. So what tools do y'all use the most? Artificial intelligence tools.
Senator Kelly, I use ChatGPT probably the most, just because it's easier.
I'll use ChatGPT, but I'll like copy my notes into it and have it summarize it or build questions based off of those notes.
For lesson plans, we use, I think it's called School Bus or something along those lines. It's specialized for education. Oh, it's in the chat. Copilot is another one.
Chief of Staff Richardson.
Once again, can you hear me all right?
Yes.
So I've used quite a few different tools. Copilot is one of them. I've locally downloaded a few models, including some Llama models, a couple of others. I've tried a DeepSeek model locally. I haven't used it online, and I've used ChatGPT just like everyone else probably has at some point, mostly for editing something I've already created, whether that's code or a paper or something else, just to see what it sees that it could suggest I do, but I still discern what I want from it and what I don't.
Senator Arajeka, I've used Sizzle. It's like I use it when I'm like doing physics, because sometimes the lecturer's calculations and workings are too long and too complex. So I use Sizzle to break down the workings, and it's like just one shortened formula, and that's the best for me. I I've been using Snapchat AI to actually study based off of my blueprint plans and the questions, and it'll give me answers. That way I don't have to search everywhere for it.
Chief of Staff Richardson.
My apologies, I just didn't lower my hand earlier.
Okay, I'd like to ask, have you ever felt uncertain about whether using AI in a certain way might be considered cheating? I think this was a little bit addressed when you mentioned not everybody covers it in their policy, but I'd be interested in any specific instances we can help. Again, not using your name, but the specific situations we might be able to help address.
Chief of Staff Richardson.
I would say in the case of, I think this has been mentioned a few times already, like you said, where if you're taking a quiz or a test and you have not studied the material whatsoever and you copy and paste the question into there and you spit out its answer and just put it straight into the description box, I think that's not really fair because you're getting a grade that you don't deserve on that assignment, and it's not fair to the other students who are putting in the work. It is your own knowledge that you're hurting in that case. So take that into will as you'd like, but I don't think that's fair. Same thing for like work and other things where you don't know what you're doing, but you're putting in AI results for questions you have.
Senator Burns, I definitely believe in the responsible use of AI when it comes to helping with outlines, and maybe studying is a great one. Like if you implement all your presentations in a study guide and it helps you fill it out to study. But I know I've noticed a lot, especially being a biochem major in the STEM field, our professors are not open to it at all. I mean, it seems like the people I've talked to who are in more liberal arts majors, their professors are much more open to the responsible use of it. But in STEM, if you touch it at all, you're done. I mean, they will report you to the dean for anything.
I would say I agree with that. I'm in a medical based degree, and I would say I agree 100%.
Senator Okafor, I would say that a lot of professors are becoming more open to the idea of using AI. The other day, my holistic professor was recommending this website. I forgot what it was called, but you basically put information and it creates a podcast for you to listen to, and it tells you like all the important information you need.
Okay, so Catherine, Abby, I know you don't have a list of a copy of the questions in front of you, Abby. I think we may have covered most of the rest of the questions through the conversation, but Catherine, is there one that we might need to be sure to go back and cover? Or, oh, you do have it, Abby. Is there one that you'd like us to be sure to hit?
I think the other question we had, which I guess more quantitative, but it would be interesting to hear directly from students, that if we were to create a course with specific tools, what would be their expectation in terms of time and commitment that they seem feasible?
Okay, yeah, so hopefully y'all answer that. And when we say course, I don't know if we described, so micro-credentials is also in our area, in our office. Abby does quite a bit of work with micro-credentials. And so if you're not already aware of the Coursera certificates, then by all means, we would love to talk to you about that. But I think what we're looking at would be a badge or a micro-credential or some sort of more, I keep using the term lightweight certification. So not a class you might register for, but something you could take and do on your own. And this is very helpful to hear this information. We do need to know like which areas we need to maybe work more closely with if we're going to talk, enable students with AI. In some ways, it sounds like you guys are very enabled. It's also helpful because as a Gen Xer, I have no imagination with this stuff. And so I was an early adopter of AI and don't know how to use it. And I learned from my 18-year-old that now I just go to the grocery store, and if I don't know where something is, I'll stop looking for it. I just take a picture of it and ask ChatGPT, where is the cream corn? And it'll circle it for me and give me the picture back. And I never would have thought to do that. Someone else had to show me. So this is why we need to come talk to y'all. So I don't think we have any other questions. I do want to say some great points were brought up. And so if there's anything, related to any topics that you think of later or you wish you had followed up with. So if you come into the library from the lakes, if you're on your way to Starbucks, the print shop's on the left and our offices are on the right. Feel free to, come on in. There may be meetings. I don't know, but we'd love to visit with you.
Do we have time for one more question? I have a question. So what kind of education and learning experiences do professors get on the use of our AI generation system and our grading system?
Yeah, we've kind of moved to we do workshops, which is not everybody's favorite way to learn. So after especially the artificial intelligence, the AI playground, the kind of sessions we did over the summer, we moved to call them pocket workshops, but there's some asynchronous. And then our office does a lot of one-on-ones and program conversations. And many times this is being recorded, so I don't want to say it. So I'm not going to say, you have a couple of problems and then you reach out to us. I'm not going to say that. It's just, it's natural. It's organic. There's a lot of, the conversation in higher ed is all about artificial intelligence, and it is either reshaping in wonderful ways education or annihilating it. So it just depends on, which side of that coin, I guess so faculty get a lot of inputs, but what we're trying to do is kind of do the more constructive. Let's just become familiar with artificial intelligence, and then you determine how it works in your discipline. Dr. Josh Bantas, our faculty senate chair, and I think I hope I don't get this quote wrong, but he had mentioned, let it do your laundry. And so, there's, your professors are heavily engaged in research. I use it for all my citations. So I hope I don't get in trouble for this, but I'd no longer APA format my citations. I just go, here's the article, give me the citation, and it's better than I am. It's not perfect, but it's better than I am. Am I going to get any better if I let AI do it? Probably not. So let's not end on that. Any other questions? No? All right. Abby, did we miss anything? Did I miss anything? Thank you. Yes. So we do have some access to some additional Coursera courses. And so there's some particularly focused on AI that we have been rolling out. But that's it's all volunteer based, but thank you, Abby. Yeah. So have some pretty good participation on that. So your faculty are getting that. And yeah, we're just trying to figure out what's a good way to maybe aggregate some of this information, especially when it comes to, what you should expect. Those are great information, great pitfalls, great stories. It's very helpful. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We appreciate your guys' time. All right, everyone. So we will move on to officer reports. My last week is pretty busy. I had tennis matches last week, so that took up my Friday through Sunday. Other than that, I met with Ona Tolliver, and I've been meeting with a lot of homecoming people, doing a lot of work for homecoming. So we're very excited for that. But other than that, not much. So I will hand it off to Vice President Romero.
Vice President Romero. This week was pretty chill. A lot of emailing. So I reached out to Staff Senate and Faculty Senate and set up a meeting with Faculty Senate President Dr. Banta, and we're going to be talking about volunteering for midnight breakfast, how they felt about it, and if they're interested in doing it again, because we've had a couple faculty and staff reach out and say they want to do it again. So why not take advantage of that? We had events committee and discussed more planning there for midnight breakfast. More will be discussed during that committee report. I reached out to Patriot Productions for midnight breakfast plans to see what kind of other activities we can involve and to see if they can help out. Also reached out to the logistics management And we have a request in for the first floor, so like the Met area for midnight breakfast. So getting that done early, and we're still rearranging the second and third floor depending on what events decides. And I had a meeting alongside part of communications committee with Jamie Dowdy, the general manager in Sodexo, also with Mr. Daniel, the operations manager there, and Avi, a marketing intern. So getting rocking and rolling with midnight breakfast, saw the numbers for last year, and more will be discussed during events committee.
Secretary Page, most of my stuff will be under the communications committee, but I did reach out to Catherine Ramirez, to try and get our meeting set up about our role in Page Premiere Day again. And then I was also in that meeting with Sodexo, so.
Treasure Mercado, I'm alive, y'all. It's a miracle. Y'all didn't know I've been in and out of sickness the last 2 weeks. Not fun. But here I am, alive and well. I have finally caught up after being sick as of today, and SGAC should have received an email from me, all committee members, about this week's meeting. Another group will be added because I just got their request today right after I sent that email. So be on the lookout for that. In other news, we'll talk more about the spreadsheet later on because we have a budget discussion to talk about later on in this meeting, and designing t-shirts that we'll also discuss later. So yeah, that's it for me.
I believe it's me next. Is that right, Ellie? Okay. And everyone can hear me, right? Now I'm gonna double check like every time I unmute myself. Okay, thumbs up. For my report, not a crazy, super busy week. It's very windy outside, y'all, so I wasn't able to make it there today for a few different reasons. For my stuff that I've been doing, I've been working with President Schwartz on some of the House rules that she's wanting me to look at. So we're going over that. Rules committee, I'll talk about whenever I get to the committee report, and that's about it.
Thank you. We will move on to committee reports. We'll start with events.
Senator Okafor. So events committee met yesterday, Monday at 5 p.m. We talked about midnight breakfast. We solidified our theme last week. And we talked about how we will be hoping to continue having faculty work the Met. We talked about possibly having an escape room during midnight breakfast upstairs in the third floor. We talked about location changes, specifically how in the PZ we want karaoke playing throughout, and then we'll move Stuff a Critter possibly into the one-stop hallway, formerly known as Stewart Hall. Then we talked about having trivia as an option in the UC Theater. And then we met with Jamie at Sodexo today around 2 p.m. And we talked about making videos for marketing, specifically for midnight breakfast earlier this semester. We talked about how we want to notify, publicize that we have gluten-free options available for the breakfast and midnight breakfast. And we talked about our music options, how we want it to be disco themed, everything 70s basically. We talked about colored lights in the Met, and we talked about decorations like disco balls and streamers, and possibly having that super big ball we had like last year where people could like sign it and then it was passed around. And then we talked about having Pop-A-Shot, cornhole, the Jenga blocks from last semester. And I think that's everything.
Thank you. We will move right along to communications.
Secretary Page. So last week we met on Friday, and really our big goal was to get some t-shirt designs started up. We wound up with a lot of designs, and if you're in the group meet, you saw them all get sent, and y'all kind of gave a thumbs up, thumbs down, and it narrowed it down to 2 of them, which we'll be discussing later tonight. One of the committee members is working on some Instagram post, while another created a cover photo for our Patriots Engage. So that's something that we're going to work really closely with events on, most likely, to discuss like how do we want to like make the big reveal. And also, it was mentioned in our Sodexo meeting at like out in the front line if we did like little mini like prizes for Spirit, or if we did like a disco dress up, would we do like a prize for that during the PZ? So we're just gonna be working really, really close with events on that.
Okay. Senator Kelly for SGC. Last week we met with 2 orgs. We met with the Black Student Association for their Paint and Pass event on March 6th, and we approved them for $97.23. And then we met with the American Society for Mechanical Engineers for their Trivia Hour event on March 13th in RBN 3039, and we approved them for up to $300.
I believe that's me once again. Everyone can hear me. Cool beans. Okay, so for rules committee, a bit of a sad thing. I went ahead and opened up the Zoom last Wednesday, and I knew I had a few absence requests in, but I actually had a no-show for that week, so we did not meet. I was there, but no one else was, so I went ahead and closed it out. I still have everyone with their exact assignments, and I'm still looking over some other stuff. Like I said, with President Schwartz, independent of the committee, which I will also have them review when it comes time for the House rules.
Okay, we will move along to the student voice reports. We will start with College of Arts and Sciences.
Senator Hamilton here. Yeah, okay. So there's not really a whole lot going on. Right now the university is in the middle of a transfer student summit with TJC, Kilgore, TBCC, and us. What was it? I met with Dr. Wink about all this. They did have a meeting previously to discuss the pathways between TJC and us. And then I know we talked about the campus master plan last meeting. So eventually there will be a science building between CAS and the library. That's what they're wanting. And then once approved, the biology and chemistry building will get moved, but I do not know where. And they're still trying to figure it out. And then he did also would like to mention that we do have a Meadows gallery that we have. It's like once every week or something like that. But they are about to have an international artwork gallery. So, and then student feedback, there wasn't really a whole lot. The student feedback was just like for after graduation and then for after advising appointments. But overall, it's a 90 to 99% excellent advising. So.
Thank you. We will move on to College of Education and Psychology.
Senator Andrews, um, so far we don't have a lot going on. We did just have and on the end of the month in February, our just a little showcase online showing off our after our graduate programs. But other than that, the psychology side hasn't been doing too much. I know that we did hire a new professor for a course that we're getting a lot of complaints for. So a lot of the students that I've heard from are really, really happy about that.
Okay, we'll move on to College of Engineering.
Good evening, Senator Bevel. I have met with the Assistant Dean of College of Engineering, Dr. Nalbone. We discussed over recent events and over tabling. So with recent events, we had the College of Engineering, the spring career fair. We had over 250 students in attendance. Only 56 of the 62 original businesses that were supposed to attend were able to due to weather and other events that day. But we got a lot of, engagement with new businesses, and our students got a lot. Then me and Dr. Nalbone discussed tabling and the location. We believe that the second floor of RBN towards the front is going to be the best, give it the most opportunity to see students and discuss. And then another thing we discussed is putting up like meet your senator posters, but on the TVs inside of the RBN and RBS building for myself, but with, my contact information, something about me, if you have anything necessary, reach out. And I believe that would also be something good for other colleges to discuss with their deans, putting up, this is your senator, this is for your college, so on and so forth. I feel like that would be a very good, helpful on top of tabling. And then we started, but didn't, fully get into it, opening up the fourth floor, like outside study areas. We really want those open, but, not sure yet. And that is about all.
Thank you. Those were all great reports. We appreciate you working so hardly. We will move on to old business. I entertain a motion to open a discussion about the Met flag takedowns. Okay, so in my meeting with Ona Tolliver, we discussed the Met flags quite a bit. She had, expressed that our institution is evolving so currently with the new president and the new faculty and staff, and so we're evolving quite a lot. They are looking to do a refresh of facilities, as you have seen in the master plan and the strategic plan. And so she felt, and I think a lot of them feel as though there could be a better way to display the global representation on campus. It's just a matter of finding that. Some of the flags in the Met were discolored from the sun. They didn't really look all that great. And so with the cleaning and the windows needing to be looked at for safety reasons, some of them may need to be resealed. They are very old. So just a whole refresh and cleaning of the Met is happening. And so it was felt that it was best to take them down and find a better way to display the global representation on campus. It's a very high priority to our leadership, and they really do appreciate all of the countries and places that each student represents. And so they really want to try to find what is the next and best way to display the flags while also making sure that it is up to the standards of our evolving university. So if anyone has any questions, I would love to answer them to the best of my abilities.
Senator Lopez, did she mention what they will be doing with the flags after they take them down?
She did not mention what they will be doing with them once they're taken down, but I can ask facilities about that and see if they're keeping them, if they, are throwing them away or what is happening. I know some of them did look pretty old and were quite badly sun damaged, so some of them may or may not be thrown away, but I'm not sure.
Senator Bevel, I was wondering if she knew like where they were planning on putting them yet, or if they were taking feedback on places that would look good.
They're still really trying to find what the best representation would be of the flags and where to put them on campus. So it's still really up in the air. But I'm sure I would love to give them suggestions if you guys have them, if you want to email me suggestions. And we could, I think, work closely with them on getting a new way of representation of our global people. Yes. Chief of Staff Richardson.
You just kind of answered what I was gonna ask, which was you mentioned that she was looking into another way to put that stuff up, and I was gonna ask if there was any details she mentioned at all, but that kind of covered it. That last statement did. So
Yeah, since they're just being taken down, they're really still thinking about what exactly they're trying to do with them. So I think it's very up in the air right now, but we could definitely work closely with them.
Senator White, I believe that I think Senator Young was going to make a slideshow on a suggestion of where she wanted to put flags. So
Yes, you are correct on that. We'll go to Senator Okafor.
Senator Okafor, to my understanding, there is an event that the university hosts, I believe, either yearly or semesterly, where they bring down the flags and they have students walk around campus with that. Is that still in the motions?
As of right now, Josh is nodding his head yes in the back. Okay, well, I hope that information helped clarify that a little bit further as to what the plans were and what exactly just the whole process was. So, with that being said, I entertain a motion to close the discussion on the Met flags. Thank you. Okay, I entertain a motion to open new business. Okay, I entertain a motion to open a House Rules changes discussion. Okay, so myself and Chief of Staff Richardson decided that it would be best to go through the House rules and make sure that they are best fit for SGA in their current in its current state. We have worked pretty heavily on some of the things that we felt needed to be changed just because we may not do things as we did 5 years ago. So the first one, so I will preface this by saying anything in green is new, anything in yellow has been changed, and anything in red we will want to discuss with you all. So the first one is yes. Is that better? Okay. We just added a piece of information saying that if a rule is not specified in our house rules, that we will go by Robert's rules to determine the procedure on that. Secondly, this was pretty much just because we felt that there was a better wording that could have been used. So it originally said a second motion must be then made to move the motion forward after being recognized by the chair. State, I second the motion. So we really just changed wording to make it less redundant and make it a little more clear and concise. I will come back to this just because we will be discussing that. Voting on a motion, we no longer do all of those in favor say because we want clear numbers on who is voting for or against or abstaining. So that is just what we have changed. Instead of saying aye, we will raise our hands. This was just an explanation of what we actually do. If you are in favor of the motion as it is, raise your hand and vote for it. So we felt it was clear and concise to put it right here and make that just way easier. We also decided that it would be good to have an explanation of what an abstention means, and so that it is clear to what you are indicating when you are abstaining from something. Does anyone have any questions so far? Okay. And then if you do have a disagreement with the ruling and the numbers, you can call for a division, and then a roll call vote will be taken, where we go down the entire list and get everyone's votes, person by person. Typically, we do majority votes, but it was not stated that if the number of votes required is not specific in the Constitution, a majority vote will be needed. So we just wanted to clear that up, make sure it was really clear of how we go about deciding whether it's a majority vote or not. This red section is out of date. It says a tie vote is a lost vote since it is not majority. In this instance, the chair may let the motion die or pass the motion. We made this way more clear. It says in the event of a tie, the chair is allowed to then make a vote to resolve the tie. In no other circumstance does the chair of the meeting have a vote by default. So this is just stating what is stated in the Constitution, and just to make it clear on our House rules that the chair will break the tie if needed. Any questions?
Also, I just want to clarify, if anybody has anything they want specified, Allie, I'm more than happy to step in and speak as well.
Absolutely. Here, we just took this out because we actually added this here. Sorry, it is not highlighted. I will highlight it now. So this is just, again, a better way to say it, make it more concise. A motion to add additional time when we do get to 10 minutes on discussions, but the speaker or chair holds the right to determine the amount of time added. So if you guys make a motion and the chair agrees, then it will be all good to go. And then tabling discussion, it says until next meeting, but we found that the next meeting might not always be the best option. So for example, last week when we tabled the discussion on the flags, I was not sure when I would have my next meetings with leadership. And so we decided to put until the time specified so that, if the president did not have another meeting where they needed clarification for 2 weeks, or they could not, get a response back in a week, they could have until the time that's specified. So that is it. All of these look pretty good. But for ending a discussion, it is stated that a vote is held immediately. No further discussion is allowed. So as of right now, what we have been doing is motioning and seconding, or I entertain a motion or a senator motions. If it is seconded, that is considered the vote. But it has been brought to our attention that that might not be the best practice. So we wanted to get your opinions on if you feel that a vote should be held, just like we do for approving the minutes, to decide if a discussion should be ended. So if I was going to entertain a motion to close, we would have to have an actual vote to actually close that discussion. So I would love your thoughts and opinions on this.
And Miss Allie, I would like to make one note before we start up discussion. That further up, there's a second change that is pretty much the exact same question, which is, do we need a vote for every single motion? We're just specifically asking about discussion since that's the most common example of us just saying move second and then moving on from it immediately. But that other red highlight is the exact same kind of thing further up in the House rules if you'd like to show that as well.
I think that'll be a good idea to vote on it because it allows people that have ideas to get to express it rather than it being shut down because a certain amount of people feel like they're done talking about it. If we vote on it, it gives everyone the opportunity to be like settled before we move on.
Senator White, I agree with what he just said actually, where I think the vote is a good idea.
Senator Okafor, just for clarification, are we going to vote on these changes, or are y'all just showing us these changes?
Yes, so once we're done with this and all the clarification is done, we will vote. I would like to have a vote.
And Ally, may I say something real quick?
Yes.
Regarding House rules changes, we technically don't have to have the entire General Assembly vote on this. It can just be made a change by us, but we felt since this was such an impactful thing, we would bring it before you guys and have a vote just to make sure we're all on the same page. So this is just making 100% sure you guys agree with this because we don't want any conflict. It is a pretty substantial thing, so.
Senator Arajaka, I also do agree that the vote is needed for ending the discussion.
Is there anyone else? Okay, so that clears up the ending of discussion. We will make those changes and we will vote on them in a minute. So making a motion, this is kind of the same thing. In order to make a motion, a second, as well as an official vote is needed to decide the outcome of all motions. I will let Robert go into a little bit more about this just because the wording is kind of confusing. And so he will be able to clear it up best.
Yes, Ally. So this kind of description would also include voting on opening up new business or any kind of discussion or any other motions we decide to make during the meeting. I know for most things like voting on shirts or something else like that, we normally have votes, but this would be all encompassing for all motions made. So I wanted to see if you guys also believe that we should just take votes for everything in general, to canvass everyone's kind of feelings on things. And I do know that it can this is just adding a little bit into the discussion beforehand. It can take a minute to sometimes do a hand count vote, and if you think that that would be impeding, we could discuss alternate methods of voting. We could see in the removed sections earlier that there were some specifications on how to do aye and nay votes, which is just vocal voting. If you guys think that's appropriate for some things like new business, where it's unlikely anyone's going to disagree with opening up new business or approving the minutes, we can do that. And I will leave that to discussion for you guys now.
Senator Okafor, I believe that making a motion and then having it seconded doesn't need a vote because if we were to end the discussion, I think taking a vote at that time would be best suited for taking a tally of who wants to continue the discussion.
Senator Kelly, I believe that a motion plus a second for every single thing is kind of redundant, and that would take more time out of real discussions and just okay. So for procedural things like opening new business and things, those are kind of redundant and usually unanimous. So I don't think those need a vote. And also like to make note that a motion plus a second, the second is optional. We don't have to second every single thing that comes on the floor. So if we're take a minute just to digest what is said and then second the motion or not second the motion, then that can shut it down.
Senator Tiocha, I think that like they said, it's redundant to have it. Also, if somebody were to open a motion to talk about something they feel like is a personal matter, if we vote on it and vote against them, it doesn't give them the opportunity to speak. So that'll like shut down people being able to open their own discussions as well.
I think for efficiency's sake, things like this should be up to the discretion of the chair. If the chair sees that a dissent could be had, then the chair can recognize that and call for a vote. But like for procedural things, then I don't think a vote is necessary. And even on when it comes to discussions, usually when we close discussion, it is pretty unanimous. So I think calling a vote should be discretion of the chair so that we can save time, but also if needed, we can have a vote.
Anyone else?
Secretary Page. Yeah, Secretary Page. I believe this, and quote me or correct me if I'm wrong, Robert, because this did partially get discussed in the e-board. The way we do it currently with like closing a vote, senators could just call for a division and then we actually have to vote already, correct?
So yeah, currently the way that things work is whenever we're closing out discussion, there's a motion made or entertained and then made and seconded, and then we just kind of say that's it. Technically, it is the chair's discretion on how we vote. So her gauging how many people seem to be interested in closing the discussion is her taking the vote in that case. We're just discussing if we would like to put it into writing, into actually taking a proper vote every time we close discussion. Did that kind of answer your question, or did I miss it?
Yes, it did. I just wanted to clarify for everybody because that was something I never knew whenever I was a senator, and I really didn't know that until we brought it up in the e-board meeting that we already have a way where you can force a vote to close the discussion if you
Oh,
believe in question.
yes. So yeah, it's the way that division works is after the vote is taken, but before the result is announced, or right after the result is announced, anybody in the room that is a speaking member can call for a division. And that means we have to go and do a proper roll call vote to ensure that the chair did not miscount or just assume the vote in based on what they think and not truly what the body is wanting to happen. So that's what the purpose of that is.
Okay, so it seems like the general consensus is leave this as a motion and a second. And then for ending a discussion, we would like a vote. So with pending those changes that I just spoke, I entertain a motion to vote on the new house rule changes. All those in favor of the changes, please raise your hand. Yes, if you were on Zoom, please raise your hand. Okay, you can put your hands down. All those opposed to the house rules changes, please raise your hand. Okay. All abstentions, please raise your hand. Okay, we will make those last few changes and we will get those published to the website. Thank you for your input on that. That was very, very helpful. We appreciate it. Thank you to Chief of Staff Richardson for working hard on those. With that being said, I entertain a motion to close the House Rules changes discussion. I entertain. Yeah, we'll finalize and publish. Sorry. Wowza. I entertain a motion to open a midnight breakfast t-shirt discussion. Okay, I'm going.
Point of order, Miss Alley. I know we voted. Did we move to close that previous discussion?
Yes,
Okay, my apologies. I missed it.
you're all good. Okay, so I'm gonna hand this off to Tyler. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and let him take over.
Okay. Okay, there we go. And I can zoom from here once I get this panel out of my way. There we go. Okay. So, Secretary Page, these are the finalist designs. If you are in the communications group me, I sent out a ton of designs, told you to give a thumbs up or thumbs down, and that helped us narrow it down. So this is shirt number 1. Can I what? It just might not look great on Zoom. But it does say Student Government Association. We got a little dancing disco ball here. And then on the back, Midnight Breakfast and Spring 2025. I will mention some things that I think we need to add to both these shirts will be are like people we work with, Sodexo, University Center, and we'll add Student Government Association as a thank you. And then the second shirt. So here is the, gotta go smaller now. No, it's all good. It's me. All right, second shirt. We can see front over here on the right. Disco Student Government Association established 2007. And then Midnight Breakfast on the back on the left. And here you can see where we put our names. So Sodexo, University Center, Student Government Association. So I guess I'll just kind of open it up to thoughts. Yeah, we just narrowed it down to two. I will take feedback, but we are not designing a whole new shirt. So keep it very concise, like color changes. Okay. If you think this needs to be a little bit bigger, a little bit smaller. Okay. And it was brought to my attention right whenever this meeting started. I thought it was just a bunch of like front designs and a bunch of back designs meant to kind of be paired, mixed matched. I was wrong about that. So, the font designs on these two are different. So you kind of get to look and decide which one you like or which one you prefer. Anyone have any thoughts?
Senator Kelly, can we make the N in midnight lowercase? So to clarify this, I will go through all of these shirt designs along with eBoard, and we will fix any, any errors we will fix before they are printed. I promise.
Senator Lopez, I was wondering, I know that communications had planned to reach out via the Instagram to the student population about palette ideas. Are these like palette ideas that the students have, or do you guys plan on changing those depending on student opinion?
We wound up not doing that, and we could reach out, but I don't know when the deadline is to order shirts, but it needs to be soon. I know last semester, I think it was last semester, it was cutting it very, very close. So I decided that would probably delay it a bit too much. So
Yes, we are voting on these today, so we would like to have them ordered by next week or Friday.
So as far Senator White, as far as changes, we can change like maybe like the color of the font, but we're keeping the shirt colors the same, correct?
And a lot of that will go off with price. Of course, we'll make it look good. But a lot of that will be price. We want to get as many t-shirts as possible while also still making them look nice. So that will also be a factor.
Senator Andrews, um, I color wise, the disco balls, I think they would be cool if I think it would be cooler if they looked like the disco ball on the front, if it was matching. Um, just because I don't know if it's just the computer, but the fuchsia's a tiny bit too hard to look at.
Okay, we can make that change whenever we edit the shirt and we send it to the designer.
The reason for that was, again, these were had different fronts and backs to them. So, but everyone liked this specific front and that specific back. So we can switch the colors of those disco balls happily.
Senator Okafor, I personally like the pink one. I think it's super cute.
And just for clarification, the shirt could not end up being pink, but Ebord would decide. So, anybody else have anything to add about you?
I like the design, Senator Barnes. I like the design of the second one, but I like the font of the first one. So I feel like taking the font of the first one and implementing it into the second design, if that's possible, would be a pretty good change.
Senator Lopez, could you scroll to the top of the first picture of the first one? Um, my only opinion on that is that I would like switch the little figure on top of the text. It kind of looks a bit awkward with having that longish text above the little figure.
Yeah, we will fix all of that type of stuff and make it look really nice.
Senator Andrews, um, I don't hate the first design. I think the pink and then the blue. I think the pink is just so there in your face. Um, the design on the back is really cool, and the front is really cool. I think if it was on a darker base, then the design would look. Well, I guess now that I'm seeing the arms, if the arms were like, well, you, yeah.
Chief of Staff Richardson.
Kathy's a bit shy, so she asked me to say something for her. She was wondering if it would be a good idea to throw in an EST 2007 to spring 2025 piece of text on there. So just saying like whenever we started this and up until now, just kind of thing. I'm calling her out.
Yes, I see what you're saying. We can make those little changes whenever eBoard meets. Does anyone have anything else?
Secretary Page. Kind of one of the vibes we were trying to go for with a lot of the shirts was like they're coming right from that neon roller skating. So we're trying to keep that like nice hip glow type, like, like I see you laughing over there. Had me saying hip. But like the old school kind of like disco feel with the bright colors where it really just pops.
Senator White. I'd also like to add a good example that we were shown today was man, now I can't think of it. Hold on. Give me 1 second. Hold on. I got this. Yeah, I can't remember what it's called. Yeah, so a really good example that we were shown today was Saturday Night Fever. So we were kind of wanting to base our decorations theme around stuff like that.
Okay, thank you. Anything else based on shirts?
Senator Tilcha, I actually like the first one, just because I feel like we all have a bunch of dark color shirts. I personally don't own that many pink. I mean, I'm wearing one right now, but that'll be a nice shirt to have. I haven't seen the ones from all the previous years, but I'm sure this one is gonna be like a standout versus the others.
Secretary Page. I'll also say like I'm a huge fan of the bright colors, especially the pink. Mainly because like during fall, that's our typically black shirts, kind of dark, spooky, and then spring is where we really try and pop. Like last year, we had that kind of light blue, really nice.
Anything else?
Senator Gomez, oh my gosh, I also like the first one just because I feel like the second one's like a lot, and I feel like people will wear like a simpler shirt more like after the event as well. So I will say I like the first one more just because like the logo is really cute, the font is really good. I will say change the kind of like purple font. I feel like the purple's like throwing it off as well since like everything's blue and like the background is pink and then just like random purple. But I really like the first one.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Seeing none, I entertain a motion to vote on the shirt options for midnight breakfast. Okay. All those in favor of the pink shirt on the top, please raise your hands.
If you're on Zoom, make sure to raise your hand. Anything.
Okay, you may all lower your hands. All those in favor of this shirt, the blue shirt, please raise your hands. Okay, thank you. It looks like the pink shirt has won pending changes that eBoard makes. Thank you for your input on that. We appreciate it. We will take everything into consideration for that. Okay, I entertain a motion to close the midnight breakfast t-shirt discussion. We will vote next week. Okay, I entertain a motion to open a Palestine furniture discussion. Okay, so leadership has been visiting the distance campuses as of lately, and one of the things that they heard from the Palestine students was that they would really appreciate a couch in their lounge area. In the past, the Houston campus asked for a Keurig and a fridge and some K-cups, and student government found the funds to fund that project. So we're hoping that within the budget, we can find the money to help Palestine out and get them a couch. So I will let Eliza go over the budget.
So when going over the budget again, I tried to stay away from taking funds that I know for a fact we're going to possibly use. So that includes events, banquet, SGAC, tabling, and senator projects. And then I looked at all the other categories. Well, since this is a distance campus, satellite campus, I was like, we can take half of that money from there. We have $100 that we never used from senator training. Use all of that money. Marketing we didn't use last semester, so use half the money we have for marketing. Traveling, we don't do that much traveling. Mainly it's for when the president has to go to UT SAC. So use half of that money, and then our safety net has not been used. So I kind of just took pieces of all of those and found $1,350 that we could possibly use, which is about the cost of the vendor that we have on campus that we use for our couches here, which I confirmed that with student engagement earlier today. So, with that being said, that's how I got that amount of money.
Thank you. I will open it for discussion for any questions about them needing a couch or your opinions on that. So
Senator Okafor, I've been in communication with the School of Nursing Deans, and I've been talking to them about tabling and how I really want to go out to the Longview and Palestine distance campuses because they mostly encompass nursing students, and they really do need a lot of student representation there. I feel like this for their new couch is very much needed. That's just my opinion, though.
Senator White, just to clarify, I didn't quite catch it. Did you say we are using money from senator projects?
So this is a satellite senator projects and events that we had put money aside for. So since it is a satellite campus, we've pulled out of there.
Senator Burns, as someone who has been to the Palestine campus there in Mathis Hall, I can definitely see a need for them to have a couch because it is pretty bleak in there, and they definitely need some things to spruce up the place and give students an opportunity to have a place to sit and lounge, do homework, and be with their community. So I think this is definitely something that's needed.
Anyone else? And again, Josh could probably speak more to how much this is needed on their campus. I have not yet visited. So do you want to speak on that at all?
Sorry.
Check. No, there we go. I agree with the last comment. It's a simple request in my opinion. And so, the main campus, you go across campus and you have plenty of seating options. The students that are distance campuses, the only seating options they have are the classrooms. And so, there are some lounge spots here and there, but for the most part, for Mathis Hall, they're just asking for a simple lounge space, so that way they can relax, hang out, something a little bit different, a scenery than a classroom. So, kind of going along to the past history of SGA, this is along the same lines when the Houston campus reached out, and for their student lounge space, they needed a fridge. And student government stepped up and provided a fridge. And then one year it was a coffee maker. And so sometimes we take for granted what we have on the main campus, and the distance campuses are asking for what I think are very, very reasonable things. Since y'all's account is student fee funded, this is directly going back to supporting students. So I think this is a good expense, in my opinion.
Thank you, Josh. You are a wealth of knowledge in other areas, so thank you. Does anyone have anything else? Okay, with that being said, I entertain a motion to vote on whether or not we will buy Palestine a couch and using these funds. All those in favor of using these funds to buy a couch for Palestine campus, please raise your hands. Okay, you can lower your hands. All those opposed, please raise your hand. Okay, thank you. All those abstaining, please raise your hands. Okay, it looks like we will be buying a couch for Palestine. They will be very excited. I know that it's much needed, so thank you guys for that. With that being said, I entertain a motion to close the Palestine furniture discussions. Okay. I entertain a motion to open Mr. and Mrs. UT Tyler nomination discussion. So, student engagement has asked for each of the student organizations to nominate a member of their group for Mr. and Mrs. UT Tyler, one for each, male and female. So I would like to kickstart that discussion. Let me grab the parameters very quickly, but if anyone has anything to add about who they feel it would be a good candidate, or who they would like to see, that would be great.
I think Tyler Page will be a great candidate for. Yeah.
Just to clarify, the criteria and requirements are they must be a full-time student who's classified as a junior, senior, or graduate students. They must be actively in good standing and involved in 2 or more registered student organizations and or athletic teams at UT Tyler, and they must have a minimum GPA of 3.25. So, we are eligible to nominate one male, one female. Yes, so they must be a full-time student who is a junior, senior, or graduate student. They must be actively in good standing, engaged, and involved in 2 or more registered student organizations or athletic teams at UT Tyler, and they must have a minimum GPA of 3.25. Anyone else have any nominations or thoughts?
Senator Andrews, I also think Tyler Page would be a great nomination for this position. But I also think Allison Swartz would be a great nomination for Miss UT Tyler.
Okay, now I feel your awkwardness, Tyler. Thank you. I appreciate that. You are all too kind.
I want to nominate Senator Victoria Okafor.
Okay, great nomination. Anyone else have anything?
Senator Villalobos here. I'll nominate Kathy Romero for Mrs. UT Tyler.
Okay. Anyone else? Anything else? Okay, so it seems like Tyler Page is our shoe-in male winner. If you guys would like to have further discussion on the female candidates and who you feel would be the best nomination, that would be great. We are limited to 2, so yeah. Yes, yes.
I was wondering if Senator Okafor, I was wondering if we could do like an anonymous like Qualtrics form real quick.
Yes. Josh is actively getting his computer out, so yeah, yes.
Is there a way to know before we vote that they represent the criteria?
Yes. Yes, so we can all, Senator White asked if we could make sure that the representatives that have been nominated through our organization have met the criteria. So I will go ahead and say that I will list out that I am in student government, I'm in NISHLA, and I'm a part of the UT Tyler Women's Tennis Team. I do have a GPA above 3.25, and I am a senior, so I meet the criteria. Kathy, do you meet the criteria?
Thank you, Secretary Page. I meet everything. I'm very involved. Just kidding. I'm a part-time student, so I unfortunately cannot accept this nomination, but I appreciate it. Thank y'all so much.
Thank you, Kathy. Victoria?
Yeah, like 12. Yeah. No, even if you work I feel awkward, so I will kindly go ahead.
I meet all the criteria.
This is just a general question because now I'm confused about something. All right. So you mentioned they have to be part of more than one organization. I thought that was the old criteria from last year, 2024, because I'm looking at the what they sent out for the email for this semester, and they said must be in good academic and conduct standing, engaged in campus life, and involved in an officially registered student organization.
You are indeed correct. So it only has to be one student organization. That is my fault. I have been here for so many years that I was looking at last year's. So that is my bad. But yes, they only need to be in one student organization. But yeah. Does everyone accept their nomination while I have the floor? Yes.
Secretary Page, yeah, I accept mine. And just to clarify, my GPA should be good enough. I If it's not, we have issues.
I will also accept.
Senator Bell, do we need Robert up there too in case he doesn't meet GPA?
You guys are allowed to nominate whoever you'd like. So if so, Kathy, do you accept the nomination? That's okay. Okay. Do you accept? Yes. Okay. Robert. So is that your official nomination? Okay. Robert, do you accept the nomination for Mr. E.T. Tyler?
Oh, my apologies. I didn't realize I was nominated. As much fun as that is, I think I'll actually decline. I think Tyler deserves it.
Okay, thank you. Josh, I will let whenever you're ready. Does anyone have anything else to add? No? Okay. We will wait for Josh. No pressure. I'm going to send this in. Or do a QR. I'll just send you, I'd rather do it this way. Okay, well, I'm gonna add this into the Zoom, so. Yeah, Zoom needs that, and then everybody else is. Okay, Zoom, you now have the link to vote. We will shortly have a QR code for in person.
Send the link in the group meeting.
QR code's coming in. Oh, Josh is too fast.
I'm so sorry.
There we go. There is the QR code for everyone. Hold on, sorry. I'm going to share my screen again. There is the QR code for everyone. Please make your votes. Has everyone been able to scan the QR code? Yes. Okay, the results should be coming in eventually. Has everyone been able to vote? All good? Okay. So, well, it looks like probably some of them all have. Congratulations, President Allison Schwartz. Thank you guys. You're all too nice. I will go ahead and send those in tomorrow. Congratulations to Secretary Page as well. I appreciate your nominations and everyone that you thought would be a great candidate. We were all great candidates. So I entertain a motion to close Mr. and Mrs. UT Tyler nomination discussion. Okay, does anyone have anything else to add for new business? No? Okay, I entertain a motion to close new business. Advisor comments, Josh.
That's all right. Really good meeting. I think the speaker's podium was very fascinating, very educational. So hopefully y'all enjoyed that. I think that is you know, security and technology, or security technology is not going away, and then just the use of technology, as y'all have talked about, it's getting embedded into everything we do. And so y'all's feedback is pretty important on both of those topics. And then other than that, really good meeting. I think y'all have got a lot of activities going on, which is good. Some good discussions. I do want to, kind of along the same lines with the Palestine conversation, also keeping in mind our distance campuses when planning activities. And so I know y'all spent a lot of time today talking about midnight breakfast. They don't get a midnight breakfast on those campuses. So make sure that y'all are keeping that in mind. So I say it every year. So I'm going to keep doing that. And then other than that, keep up the good work. Oh, I'm going to go back to Giosman on the rules. In the history on the rules, the House rules were created because student government was getting too caught up in the rules, right? And it was causing senators to not be active and speaking up because they were intimidated that they were going to get procedural wrong. And so the important things are that Robert's rules are in place to help provide structure and guidance on to how to have an effective meeting and to provide that guidance. But if it's interfering with how y'all are performing, and if you're not being able to openly discuss, debate, and decide on things, then that's something that y'all need to keep in mind, because y'all should be able to come in here and feel comfortable to speak y'all's opinion and to have healthy debate on the issues that are at hand. So that was why House rules were created. That's why the Constitution was overhauled many years ago, is because in some ways the upperclassmen were using it against the underclassmen. And it took years for the underclassmen to figure it out. And so House rules were designed to help make sure it's an even playing field for everybody in this room. So I'm glad that y'all are reviewing it, y'all are updating it. And so I do want to, share that with y'all, so y'all keep that in mind as y'all learn new rules. They don't need to also be an interference with the work that you are supposed to be doing. So, all right, other than that, keep up the good work.
Thank you. For announcements, obviously my breakfast is April 8th. That is a required night for us. So we will be working, we are running it. Other than that, elections are open. You should have gotten an email to your Patriots account. So sign up for those, attend the candidacy meeting with Josh, and solid. Chief of Staff Richardson.
Yes, Allie, I just wanted to say a quick thank you to all you guys for bearing with me being on Zoom today, especially when we're talking about the rules. You guys had a very good discussion over that, and I just wanted to say thank you for bearing with me again. I know this is not normal, and I will be there for the next meeting, so thank y'all.
Thank you, Chief of Staff Richardson.
Treasurer Mercado, I did want, when it comes to elections, just put it out there that we don't bite. So if you guys are interested in our positions for next semester and being on the board, I think almost all of us are graduating. So please come talk to us, get our feedback, hear about what our jobs are and what our roles actually are. We'll give you the nitty gritty. We'll be honest. So please do come up and talk to us.
Yes, we are very excited to see who signs up. Please do sign up. The elections are coming very soon. So look at your Patriots email, sign up for those. But next week we will have a meeting. But with all that said, I entertain a motion to adjourn. Thank you guys.